Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 12th day of June. Got a pretty good show tonight, folks. I've been battling a migraine headache. I'm going to cut it a little short. Plus, it's Game 5. We're in a closeout series. Hopefully be feeling better, and this thing will be done. I've got a lot of other things I wanted to talk about that happened over the weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to get to those stories tomorrow. Saquon Barkley, potential season-long holdout. If he doesn't get a deal done by July the 17th, I'll talk about that. Plus, Aaron Gordon and how, the right fit can change everything. So we'll have all that and more. I'll be back here at around in 49 seconds. Take the first and only break out of the way here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Then I am back here live. Okay, now, there was a report that Saquon Barkley open to nuclear option on the Giants contract negotiation if a deal isn't done, possibly if sitting out the season. And that deadline would be July the 17th, which is coming really quick, folks. It's already June. So let me just say this. Saquon Barkley is the most overrated player, NFL running back. I want to make sure that people can hear me clearly. I'm not saying he's a bust. Baker Mayfield's a bust. Jamarcus Russell's a bust. The Titans drafted a running back, some guy named Henry. It wasn't Derrick Henry. He was a bust, though. Those guys are bust. But Saquon Barkley is the most overrated NFL running back since Reggie Bush. Both players, really more than 2006. Reggie Bush, he played on a national championship team and everything. 6 foot tall. He was supposed to be in the next Barry Sanders / Eric Dickerson. He was neither. Okay. Both of them, number 2 pick overall. And Bush was arguably the number 1 pick till about a week before the draft that year, if you all recall. Both came from a big Power 5 school. And, the guy, like Pickles says, he's playing for the Giants. And Dave Gettleman, the guy who drafted him, who's the former general manager, trying not to get too loud today because I'm still battling this headache, but said if Baker Mayfield wasn't on the board, we were going to take the best player in the draft, Saquon Barkley. All right. And not only is he not the best running back in the league, whether you're dealing with, Derrick Henry or whoever, the guy that plays for the 49ers now, he's not even the best running back in his draft class. I was looking, Nick Chubb was drafted in 2018 also. And he was the first pick in the second round. The Cleveland Browns. Chubb, even with Barkley's injuries, and I'm being fair about this, his average yards per game, 84.5 for Nick Chubb. And don't give me this, he had a better line. He had Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. Cleveland's historically a bad organization, like Cincinnati, like Detroit. bad organizations, you know. But Chubb averages 84.5 yards per game rushing to Barkley 70. But if you look at, like I said, Reggie Bush, Rookie of the Year, Saquon Barkley, Rookie of the Year. You know, both of them, their careers somewhat mirror each other. But there were players like, but by the way, Barkley shared carries with Kareem Hunt in the beginning. And he still has a 14.5 yard average better than Saquon Barkley. I noted that. There were players in that 2018 draft like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Quentin Nelson, Jar Alexander, Mika Fitzpatrick, safety, Darwin James, star safety. That's just to name a few. But Nick Chubb's a better running back than this guy. And so he somebody asked him, you know, so what do you they was asking about his worth ability, what's he worth and everything, and ask him about his contract, and listen to what he said. A long, drawn-out answer, but he throws, he gives a backhanded, passive-aggressive type move towards Daniel Jones, and I'm not a Daniel Jones fan, don't get me wrong. He was overpaid. But listen to Saquon Barkley yesterday.
About the market for running backs. Do you think maybe, you know, the next collective bargaining or something that the union
with the market on the running backs
find something that works out better for running backs? Because it seems like a lot of guys are just not being paid at the value that they need to be paid.
I don't know, because that's going to be in 10 years. And to be honest, I love the game a lot, but I don't see myself being on a football field in 10 years. But what I will say about the running back market and the value of it, what do you think is going to happen? You know, they tagged the top 3 guys. We didn't even get a chance to hit the open market. So when we don't get a chance to hit the open market, it hurts a guy like Miles. It hurts all those other guys. They put the cap at 10. And then when they have the tag, they have all the leverage. And that's the reality of it. But there's a personal side of it too. There's a human side of it too. And going off back to the question what Kim said, how I felt like that they're diminishing what I've done since 2018. I'm not saying that, but everyone will talk about the running back market and this and that and the third. Every team is different. Like everyone, there's a thing that goes up, and I think you mentioned it before about quarterbacks in the Super Bowl and how many rushing yards, the top rusher. But every team is not like every team. Pat Mahomes is a 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time MVP, and like this is not everybody have Pat Mahomes, and this is no knock to Daniel Jones. So don't even try to flip like that. And then you look at the Eagles.
Yeah, right. That it was a knock at Daniel Jones, and it was probably a legit knock. I wouldn't have said it publicly. More from Saquon Barkley.
Great quarterback. That team's amazing, but every team is not the Eagles. Every team don't have that much talent. And when you come to my situation, come to me personally, I feel like that I helped our team a lot. I feel like not only on the field, but off the field. I feel like as a leader, I feel like obviously there's a conversation of my numbers going down. I think there's a whole lot of other stuff that happened to play as NFL. You know, we were a one-dimensional team in the beginning of the season. We were running the ball. We have a great coach. We played Detroit Lions. They came in, bust that ass, stopped me. We had to switch it up, and we have a great coach with Days and with Cav, and we had a whole new game plan. We came out and found a way to get the job done and make it to the playoffs. But going to the running back market, when you talk about the running back, no, I don't agree with that. I think that it's not fair because I don't think Tennessee Titans is a great team, but Derrick Henry's one of those guys in those teams. St. Fran's a great team, but Christian McCaffrey's one of those guys.
McCaffrey is who I was trying to think of earlier. So he's kind of realizing, you know, in a roundabout way, I'm not as good as McCaffrey, I'm not as good as Henry, but their situations are different. No, you're an overrated running back who was drafted at number 2. Lucky to have that high and they paid him this, you know, and he doesn't even want to sign a franchise offer at $10 million a year. Now, like I said, he's not even as good as Nick Chubb is in his draft class. And obviously, he took a backhanded compliment at passive aggressive move towards Daniel Jones. What he's saying in so many words is, this team's terrible. They knew I had to get the ball, and I need to get paid for all the beating I took. No, you were the number 2 pick overall. You got paid for that, you know. So this is a tremendous opportunity for the Giants not to listen to the fan base here and do what's best for the team and trade this guy. Trade him to Chicago. I looked at the Bears depth chart. Bears got plenty of money. That $38 million still left in cap. Ron Poles has done a good job up there in Chicago. But the Bears got guys like Deontay Foreman, Khalif Herbert, and some guy named Roskin Johnson. They could use a Barkley. They could use a Barkley. They can afford Barkley. But if I'm the Giants, I don't care if I get a 4th-round pick for this guy. Trade him to the Bears and go out and sign Dalvin Cook, practically the equivalent for a guy that's 2 years older and not the average 28-year-old by no means. He'll be 28 in September, so he's not 28, turning 29. Sign him to a 2-year deal, 5 years, $5 million. Incentives up to maybe 12, 13, and move on about your way. Now, that's the smart thing to do, you know. And Pickle says he would take Khalif Herbert over Barkley because his legs aren't. I mean, yeah, he said, man, that sounds pretty cold. He did this and that. You don't pay people for what they've done, you know. Say if you get a quarterback and he gets you to the Super Bowl, maybe you add a little extra in, like a Kurt Warner type of guy. But this was what was wrong with the Lakers at the end, towards Kobe's end. They paid Kobe for what he done, not what they're projecting him to do. Okay, this is the business side of football. I like Barkley. I know he works out hard. He's a grinder. He's not a guy that shows up out of shape, but the facts are what they are. Nick Chubb, a guy in his own draft class, because I'm saying this because he wants Derrick Henry. He wants top running back money. He wants 16 plus. You know, he wants top end running back money. He's not even a top running back in his own class. You know, he was overdrafted, and Giant fans. They do not want to hear me say this, but the guy is overrated. He is the most overrated. You look at Bush, both of them won Rookie of the Year, and Bush never lived up to that. He never got close, in my opinion, to becoming a Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders took a god-awful team to the playoffs and won a playoff game in '92 in his 3rd year. Bush had a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame coach, and he still didn't want to run inside. Shoot, Maurice Jones-Drew, to me, was a better down-by-down NFL running back than Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, and I'm not even a Christian McCaffrey guy. I said that was insane. He was hurt a lot with the Carolina Panthers. Like Barkley played 2 games a couple years ago. 2 games. And you can say whatever, well, bad team, this, bad. No, he's just an overrated player, and the fans don't want to admit, the ones that wanted the Giants to draft him, they don't want to admit that he was a bad pick. You guys could have had Josh Allen. You know, Eli Manning was at the end of his days there. And then remember a few years later, they got Daniel Jones and overdrafted him. Overpaid that guy. Now, he's improved. I understand he's a quarterback. I get that. But if you're smart and making moves with your head instead of your heart, you know, if there wasn't a hard cap, yeah, go ahead and pay him. Pay him whatever you want to pay him. But there's a hard cap in this league. And, you know, he mentioned the Eagles. The Eagles are not getting any worse. The Eagles are getting a lot better. You're going to have to need money in other places to match up, to even match up with the Eagles. The Eagles are running circles around you, you know? So, again, you just be foolish not to trade the guy and move on. I said the same thing, Pickles, 4 years ago. 5 years ago, when Ezekiel Elliott had 1 year left on his rookie deal and he won a new contract, I said, trade him. And now they're regretting not trading him. He's cut. They wore him out, but that's a different, that's Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones. Quick note here. I did want to shout out to Tempo Lee for helping me out with the intro there and the outro. But if you're watching, man, kudos for that. I do need to see if we can maybe get the screen wider on my outro where the logo covers the screen. I just found that in my notes. So the Bears, again, the Bears got plenty of money. They would be a suitor. They would be a suitor for Barkley. You want to help out rookie young quarterbacks as much as possible. And when you've got a guy on his rookie deal like that, you can really load a team around him. And a Barkley may be able to help you. But other than that, and then he's talking about sitting out a season, which I don't know what happened during that season with I got a good idea, but I'm not going to speculate. But I'll say this, that Le'Veon Bell set out all of 2018, and he got a 4-year, $52 million, 27 guaranteed, $13.5 million average from the Jets after sitting out a year. And this guy had 1 year with 1,250. That was underachieving all-purpose yards. And the Jets ate the rest of that contract. They just ate that. So and that extra 10, 10 and some change or whatever he had on the franchise tag, he never got that back. He never got that back. Le'Veon Bell didn't, and he's regretting it. He's wanting to go back to Pittsburgh and sign a one-day contract. He's hinted at that already, And listen, I understand this is a very short life and all that as far as running backs, but you also got to look at the perspective from the team's perspective, from they want to build around you. But the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. Ideally, you do not want to give these running backs second contracts. You just do not want to give these guys second contracts. Running backs takes a year off. He lost his step, man. His timing was never back. It was never the same after that. So, anyways, Denver, I think, switching gears back to the round ball. I think Denver takes this thing tonight. I'll say this about Denver is this team has a lot of natural team chemistry. Joker was on the bench with 5 fouls in the fourth quarters. The refs done everything they could to help Miami out in game 4 with some touch fouls. And they still couldn't get it done. Denver goes on, wins. We know what happened. We know what happened, and then they play tonight too. But I'll say this: sometimes you just have to have the right fit, And Aaron Gordon saw somewhat of an underachiever. He was drafted the same year the Joker was. He was the 4th pick overall in 2014 at 19 years old. And I'll say this. Orlando is the NBA Siberia, if you ask me. They got lucky with Shaq and Penny in the 90s. There was a documentary where they won the lottery twice or something like that, or got real close with Penny. They took Shaq in 92, and they got Penny like a year later, Anthony Hardaway. And then they went on their run in the 90s there. And, you want to say Dwight Howard's team. I thought Dwight Howard, I thought that team was never – I thought he never quite got everything of his talent. He always seemed a little bit distracted. I used to watch one of his ex-girlfriends or wives on Basketball Wives, and he's a guy. Shaq pushed him as an analyst to play better. but I never thought that team was good enough to beat that Laker team back in 2010 in the final. I never thought that. I know they shot the lights out, but for the most part, you know, the Magic, they're kind of like I said, an NBA Siberia team. Think about the Golden State Warriors. When Chris Mullin left, when that group around him, I had Tim Hardaway for a cup of coffee. And when that group left, and sometime in the 90s, they were in NBA Siberia. You know, you had a small surge with the Baron Davis days. And then a few years later, now you got Steph and Clay and everybody. They went on a run. But they were just like Orlando, where when they're not winning and they're not in a big market, you forget they're even in the lead. You forget they're even in this league. So the same thing with Aaron Gordon. Gordon is put on. Somebody mentioned this the other day, and I wanted to give them credit, but I can't remember who said it. I may have read it off of social media, but they said Aaron Gordon is a horse grant for this team. I mean, he is really that good. They traded for him back in 21. Talk about a great move by Denver, trading him for Gary Harris, R.J. Hamilton, and a 2025 first-round pick. And this guy has put the clamps on Jimmy Butler. LeBron did have a 40-point game. You know, took as many shots, but he had a 40-point game. But he held this guy on both sides of the ball. Held Durant to 38% shooting, 37 for Towns. I mean, just and obviously, I think they're going to win tonight and finish this thing off. But hey, Miami's tough. They might come back and win this thing. But if it's me, I do. This is the equivalent of a coach or a quarterback after he wins all the accolades, buying Escalades or rings or something special for his offensive line. But if it's me and I'm Joker and I get that Finals MVP and Joker's broke every record, I mean, he's going to have the most points, most rebounds, and the most assists of anybody in the postseason if they win. That is insanely crazy in the membrane. That being said, Aaron Gordon's defense is the equivalent of putting a Scottie Pippen on a Magic Johnson in the 91 finals for what he's done with Butler. He's playing outstanding basketball. You know, and he's getting the ball to the rim. He's got that look in his face like I'm in deep thought, deep focus here. He's finally getting a chance to shine, and we realized maybe that guy wasn't a bust. He was in NBA Siberia. He was cast aside in the middle of a bunch of oranges in the middle of mid-Florida somewhere where it's 1,000 degrees in that part where there's no ocean close by. And, you know, you got Disney there, and they're the only thing in town, man. But nobody, you know, they couldn't get anybody around the guy. But he's an excellent three here. And Joker, like I said about Joker, if I'm Joker, I would make 2 additional copies of that MVP trophy, and I'd give one to Jamal Murray, and I'd give one to Aaron Gordon. Now, everybody on the team should get a ring, and rightfully so. They played great. Brown played great. Brown, whatever you want to call him, the young guy from Kansas, he played really well at times. This team has played fantastic communication, team basketball. They didn't give up an inch, you know, and Skip Bayless kind of took a little shot at Mike Malone, saying, the coach there for Denver, saying that his speeches were very high schoolish cliches. And I said, no, I'm watching the same. And of course, he's bad because his Heat and 6 prediction looks like total garbage about like a lot of his takes here lately. And of course, I said Denver in 5, but I thought maybe, I don't know, after Denver lost at home, I thought maybe Denver, and maybe they may be Denver in 6. They may win, they may lose tonight, but I I think Malone has pushed all the right buttons. He said exactly what I was thinking in each and every one of these games, particularly game 2, when this team looked like that they were standing around and they thought because they had this big winning streak at home in the playoffs this year that Miami's going to roll over, and they looked up and they got the L, and they're not getting the ball to the rim, and he's staying on these guys' rear end to say, if that three ain't falling, and they're not a three-point shooting team, that's not their strength. You get that ball to the rim, okay? You make that extra pass, get the ball, and Aaron Gordon took that to heart. And, yes, he's a Horace Grant of this team, man. I mean, that dude was playing great, and I love the fact of players, thank you, Colin, or Chad, that they're buying into defense to that level. You just do not see that in the NBA, especially in the regular season. A lot of players simply just mailing it in. You really don't see it much in the playoffs. Now, I'll say this. I saw it a lot from Wiggins last year. Draymond Green, call him what you want. I've called him some things. But he give it everything he's got on the defensive side. Everything he's got. And their interior defense rebounding last year was really good in the finals against Boston. And at times, even though it doesn't make the headlines, but they did get high percent. There was a lot of layups Steph Curry got last year. But that's the same thing with this team. The refs did everything they could. Again, in that fourth quarter, you got Joker sitting there with 5 fouls, BS touch fouls, letting them play all game, and let's go ahead and call some on. Let's call some on, and they still couldn't hold them back. I think they win by 15. So but Gordon is a guy that really has played up to his top 4 draft picks. I mean, I think he is, and he's just got that look in his eye, and it's good to see a team that is in that level of focus, because Miami is focused too. Miami's playing well. They're moving the ball well. This team is just bigger, and they're playing up to their par, and they're getting everything out of it. And it is a great story for the league. This would be, if they win, this would be their first championship in franchise history. But as far as getting any farther than that, I'm not going to talk about them winning and any of that stuff until they actually do. But I just wanted to really give the homage to Aaron Gordon. I think he had 27 the other night as well, with his stellar defense. Okay, folks, like I said, under the weather this afternoon. It's not good for migraine headaches to have multiple lights on like this. So if you guys like the show, please share the show. I'll be back tomorrow. I've got plenty of other things to get to. I wanted to talk about that Brittany Griner airport situation. I wanted to touch on Novak Djokovic, the kind of career he's another guy that's locked. Man, is he focused, man. That dude is Pickle says Porter Jr. And of course, Porter, Porter's overdue. Maybe this is the 6'10 player. Porter's had his moments in the last series, but this series particularly, this is Aaron Gordon. I mean, putting the locks on LeBron James, putting the locks on Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, 37%, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, that's like having a great pitcher mow down the Yankees in the earth. That is like having Randy Johnson or Kurt Schilling late in the innings facing that wicked lineup with Giambi and, of course, A-Rod. Maybe not. I think A-Rod wasn't on that team, actually. Jeter, Giambi, any other big bat, Ruben Sierra, you name it, Bernie Williams. Just never intimidated, not even a little bit by the person that they're guarding, Yeah, man. I maybe it's this weather. I don't know, Chad. I think it's the allergies here in Middle Tennessee, man. I've had these here last couple of weeks on and off. get these migraines. I drink a lot of water and stuff, but sometimes you just get them, man. You just get them, and couldn't really get a lot of the time put in. So anyways, I'll be back here tomorrow, folks. Same time, same place. Again, hopefully it'll be 100%. We'll get to a full show. And whatever happens tonight, hey, look, there's a storyline on both of them. I wouldn't mind seeing Miami. It would have been good for Miami. The Jimmy Butler story is great, but it just feels like Denver's the better team, and it's simply their time. Denver's got ate up with the injury bug in the past, and now they've got it all put together, and, the time is now. So anyways, folks, again, I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope. Sure, get my banner in there.